That's a very, how do you prepare someone for that? Like, to tell someone that the impact that that could potentially have could be catastrophic, the psychological impact of that, like, how do you take that in? There's also just the whole interfering with the flow of time, which I think Roger is quite, I think he has to reason this out. I think he has to sort of try and have a really great grasp of the potential consequences of that before he would ever dream of coming out and saying that. I mean, ultimately, I think that's what happens, but I think it's a dangerous thing to come out and say, especially where they are and especially in the circumstances that they're in. I think that could potentially backfire.
Yeah.
And it comes from a place of protectiveness and a place of love that he doesn't.
I think the responsibility of revealing something like that weighs heavily on Roger, which we see in 7A. He knows the date of Buck's death, which is another element of Buck which is shrouded in mystery as to, does he never go back to the Stones? Does he die in 1778? So, but he takes his time with that decision, and is probably doing the same right now because really things aren't going well for their plan. They've overshot their landing zone by a few decades, which they didn't think was possible. So yeah, there's many kind of challenges which are happening to them simultaneously. So it arrives later and as a much more thought out delivery, I think. It's so much fun to play with, and it's a very unique position, I think, for any character to be in the room just a hair's breadth before they're conceived. So it's kind of a difficult one to play. Difficult is the wrong word. It's just you're trying to conjure the kind of there's a magic in the room. There's the electrons are moving. There's kind of all this kind of energy, but what's happening? So yeah, it's a lot of fun with my beautiful parents, Dougal and Gaelis, just the gentle souls that they are.
Yeah, and I think for Roger, for Buck, it's like, what's happening? And for Roger, it's like, oh, that's happening. That's happening. No, oh my God. Wow. That's okay.
Real time. Real time.
Yeah. And because of the whole lineage and ancestry of the Mackenzies anyway, and how complicated and that is, and kind of, how that feeds this sort of universe of Outlander, it's interesting to see that all kind of unfold before us. I mean, it's fun to think about the whole paradox of it all as well.
It's the chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It is our going back that sets in motion a series of events for Dougal to knock on Gaelis Duncan's door. And it kind of is that, maybe a poor example, but like I always thought of it as the Kyle Reese Terminator thing of like he goes back in time because he's sent back by the guy, but if he doesn't go, so you could lose your mind from it. But yeah, it's the chaotic little hand of fate that's at play whenever anyone goes through the Stones. So it's not a direct flight.
Just the bizarreness of that, and obviously Roger is sort of loaded with the information that he has about Gaelis and her character and her sort of darker side, I think. And that aside from the fact that she is literally his grandmother a few times removed, it's such a surreal experience. But it's one of many surreal experiences that Roger and Buck have over the course of just a few days. And he's trying to have this serious conversation with her about finding his son, and he's kind of trying to delicately dance around certain facts with her, but at the same time she's sort of having it on with him. It's like, this is just, it's almost beyond the realm of believability for him. The things that are happening, it's kind of like a dream, but also at the same time a dream to play, because we were just loaded with so many things to sort of immerse ourselves in and react to, that you couldn't help but find the whole thing amusing. So it was kind of a good time. Great, like it was one of the original Outlander characters, one of the season one sort of stalwarts of the story. So to have that sort of, having coming in at the end of season 2 and the years that sort of preceded it, that followed it, and then coming back and sort of diving into what would be sort of vanilla Outlander, sort of season 1 Outlander, where it all sort of comes from, was a real treat, I think, for us. And facing Dougal Mackenzie with the knowledge of what happens to Dougal Mackenzie and what Dougal Mackenzie means to both me and Buck was, I think, just charged with so much in terms of the sort of how complicated that idea of facing your ancestor, who's then sort of stabs to death by Jamie Fraser. It's like, it's funny how it's all come to be, all that stuff with Geillis and Dougal, and how sort of well informed the context is in terms of their histories that are brought into the room as well. So I just think there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, and to your point about context, like there was something like who knew what and when is also another layer that's kind of like put in the tapestry of this whole thing as well, because obviously Buck is unaware at that moment. He knows Dougal is a Mackenzie, he knows he's a clanman, but doesn't know he's his father. But I think on the day with the director, the avenue that we took for Buck was, there's something up, he just can't put his finger on it when these two are in the room. It's like, it's not a familiarity, it's something in the voice, something in their exchanges together, something old, ancient, and kind of just kind of like I don't know, like an echo of something that's just going through Buck's body. And then he arrives 9 months later, a bouncing baby Buck.
It's an incredibly profound moment. It changes everything. It changes the very sort of idea of how they're even there. I think when they see the dog tags, it's a whole flood of emotions and sort of the ultimate revelation that, hang on a minute, this could be the reason why we're in this time, why we're here, why something's kind of not felt right. We've just assumed that we've followed Jeremiah Mackenzie to the time that he's in, the time that he's been kidnapped to. It never ever occurred at any point to either of them the fact that they might have somehow, well, he never thought it was a thing. He thought his father died in a plane crash. So to see his dog tags, it just changes his whole perception of what happened to his father and where he might have gone. And now they start to come to the realization that he himself could be a time traveller, and he himself could have gone back to that time, and ultimately that is how they might have come to be there themselves. And it actually throws up a lot of stuff in terms of, have they failed? What does that mean if our father's here? Can we help him? Does that mean that we can't? Does that mean that we won't find Jemmy? Like there's a lot to play in the finding of one.
I think it's just supercharged. Yeah, I think it's just supercharged. It has to be explained to Buck for obvious reasons, because it is a World War II artifact. But once he understands that, it plays into the kind of the mystical realm of Outlander. That the stones are sort of a tuning fork and a kind of a landing zone to what you're thinking about. As Brianna explains to Buck at the dam in season 7A, when she's trying to explain to him what has happened to him. Fatherhood is really what is on our minds. Roger wants to protect his son, father and son. There is that emptiness within Buck. So I think that kind of lightning rod that is the stones was very purposely sent them to this moment, and it's a hell of an alternate route, because up to that point it's all about Jamie, but it's an absolutely irresistible line of inquiry that the boys have to discover and answer some questions, or try to. I think retribution kind of plays a part of it. I think that kind of redeeming himself, plays a part of it. I think that there is unfinished business there within himself. I think that he has, as you say, gone through a lot of wear and tear, physically and emotionally, in his life since the last time he has seen Roger, and I think now he wants to make amends. I think building bridges is part of the motivation for Buck, and I think that he wants to see his descendants do well. I think that it's quite a magical thing for Buck to know that even though his marriage failed and his children are more likely off with their mother now being raised by another man to which her heart belonged, to see his descendants thrive and be safe, I think is something quite primal within Buck, and I think he wouldn't hesitate to do it.
Great protectiveness, I think, a paternal quality that comes through from Buck that just feels like a sort of overarching sort of safety, I think, for the family, which I think really comes across. What can we tease? Damn it.
Can we tease, indeed. Well, I think that there is such beautiful scenes to come. Unbeknownst to Buck, there will be, and I can speak openly about the episodes after 11, right? Can I?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. We really get into the weeds of the relationships between fathers and sons as we progress through 7B. That is an insatiable kind of vacuum which I think exists between and at the center of both Buck and Roger, knowing who their fathers were. More comes to light for Buck's situation as 7B progresses, but I think that how beautifully written and played the scene is when father is reunited with son is extraordinary, but also there is that delicate tipping point of what can Roger reveal. Like he does have these cards, but he does play them close to his chest. Even when he meets his own father, there's things you can't just blurt out. So I think the most powerful thing, as can be a theme with fathers and sons anyway, in real life, I guess, is just what's not said. And again, in this short period of time, he's trying to transmit or gather some kind of connection. I think that scene will blow people away. I think it'll be one of the standouts of 7B.
No, I think it's just that. I think it's just we've come through. I think we've been given such a very sort of dynamic and layered sort of plot through second half of season 7 with a lot going on with Roger's father, and again to kind of echo what Diarmaid is saying about fatherhood and family, and teasing at the threads that sort of make that, and that sort of emotional journey that they go on together, and that he shares with Buck, and that is sort of echoed again from Buck's own paternity of his kind of Mackenzie descendants that I think he feels so protective of and wants to nurture and sort of see do well. And I think that it is layered with all of those complexities, and I think they were there for us to sort of play and develop. And I think we see really quite a kind of a beautiful journey of these guys going through the second half of season 7.